From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Book Festival, a session that's devoted to teen readers. I'm Mark Sweeney, the Associate Librarian for Library Services at the Library of Congress. We want to thank the co-chairman of the festival, David Rubenstein, and the many book festival sponsors who've made this event possible in 2016, and those that have supported us over these many years. You can support the festival with a gift or donation by checking the information in the festival program or on our app. We welcome the help in making this festival a success next year and every year. The festival would not be possible without our sponsors and book lovers like you. Now, if you would please quiet your cell phones, the question and answer will follow the author's presentation, and please be aware that we're filming the event for our archive. Today, it's my privilege to introduce Kwame Alexander, one of the nation's most dynamic writers who's achieved particular distinction with books that he's written that have transformed reluctant readers into enthusiastic readers. Last year at this festival, he talked about his best-selling book, Crossover, for which he won the Newbery Medal in 2015. He also told us stories about the ups and downs of his literary career and the power of a personal philosophy that has say yes at its core. Just as stereotypes are attached to librarians, and I'm sure you know most of them, there are also stereotypes that are pinned to writers. One is that writers are solitary. They work alone, up in the garret, and prefer to be alone. But as many of you already know, this doesn't apply to Kwame Alexander in any way, shape, or form. Writing while cooped up in a garret? Certainly not. He talks about writing while sitting at a table in the middle of his favorite Panera bakery. Prefer to be alone? I don't think you can say that about a person who in 2016 alone has spoken at over 101 different events in schools, libraries, conferences, and festivals in 21 states, the District of Columbia, and China. Passionate, honest, and engaging, Kwame is a marvelous advocate for literature and language who has the unique ability to use poetry and prose to connect with audiences in ways that are truly transformative. I know that because I have 3 sons, and it works. I am sure most of you who love to read can talk about a particular experience, mostly early in our lives, that caused us to flip the switch with respect to our positive interest in reading. For me as a boy, that experience was hearing my father's enthusiastic quotes and reading aloud from the passages of Robert Louis Stevenson. For many of today's young people, that kind of switch is provided by Kwame Alexander's books. Following the great success of his book, Crossover, he will tell us about his latest book titled Booked. It's described as a verse novel with a 12-year-old boy as the central character. It deals with such topics as soccer, girls, friendships, and divorce. I'll note, too, that one of the main characters is a charismatic school librarian. So, very good. Kwame will be signing copies of Book today from 12:30 to 1:30. And it'll be in line 5 downstairs. So please join me in welcoming Kwame Alexander back to the National Book Festival.
Hello. Any third graders out here? Let me hear you say yeah. Fourth graders? Fifth graders, Ooh, okay, this is good. What a pleasure. What an honor to be invited back. I've been writing books for 23 years. I started in Arlington, Virginia, and I've always wanted to come to this festival. And so to be coming back 2 years in a row is really something pretty special. The times that we're in right now are certainly challenging and tough. And I thought, well, how do I come up here and begin this presentation with sort of paying respect to what's going on in our world. As artists, we are not separate from what's happening in our world. We are inspired by it, and sometimes we are saddened by it, and even that causes inspiration. And so I thought about this idea of silence, and that sometimes silence is about not trying to say the things we know we need to say. And silence is also about running out of things to say. And I think, I was in the car with my kid, and we were listening to NPR, and she says, and this is the problem, which we all love NPR, but this is the problem with listening to NPR when you got a third grader in the car. Because, like a week later, she says, Dad, we're driving to school. She says, slow down. And I say, why? And she says, you're speeding. And I'm like, I'm only going 1 mile over. She says, but you might get stopped by the police. And so how do you answer that? It's tough. You answer it with silence. What do you say? I was being interviewed at the International Literacy Association in Boston, and this kid named, I believe his name was Jack or Adam, and he says to me, we'll call him Jadam. He says to me, he interviews me, 12-year-old kid, he's interviewing me, and he says, Mr. Alexander, my last question, with all the things happening in this world, what can we as kids do to help you all? Why should a kid have to ask that question? And how do you answer that question? And again, you find yourself, silent. And so this whole notion of being silent it can't work. We need to figure out what some of these answers are, so that our children aren't put in those situations and having to ask those questions. We got to speak up. We got to find our voice. And I think, children, how do they find their voice? And of course, it's through the language, it's through the literature, it's through, the books. That's how they can find their voice. And that's why, so many of these books are important for us. Y'all probably wondering, why do I have Carl Hyacin up here? Yo, his books are hilarious for kids, and they deal with these amazing environmental issues. So when we talk about saving the world and protecting young men and sort of and saving the world emotionally and intellectually, we also talk about saving the physical world. And he's dealing with a lot of environmental issues. And so, we have to learn from our history and from our past. And I think books are the answer. Or books are an answer. I don't know if they're the answer, but they are definitely an answer. And I think there's so many wonderful books out here, especially this one. That was smooth, right? So my editor, Margaret Ramo, is here from Houghton Mifflin, and she's often asked me, Kwame, why are you always, do you have daddy issues? Because you're always writing about boys and fathers in your books. And of course, my father, he comes at it from another point of view. He says, when are you going to pay me my royalties? My father made me read the encyclopedia growing up. He made me read Funk and Wagnalls. You got it from Safeway for free if you had the reward points, right? And so I really, I think Booked is not an autobiography, but it's certainly like autobiographical. And I really wanted to talk about that. And so I decided to write a book about a boy who loves soccer. You're pumped. The match is tied. At the end of extra time, players gather at center circle for the coin toss. You call tails and win. Real Madrid scores the first goal. Ours bounces off the left post. They make the next two in a row. We make three. The score is 3-3. Your turn to rev the engine, turn on the jets, score, and you win. Teammates lock arms for the final kick. The crowd roars, screams your name. Nick haul, Nick, haul, Nick, haul. Like a greyhound coursing game, you take off from 12 yards out, winding for the kill, but right before the winning kick of your Barcelona debut, your teacher, Miss Hardwick, streaks across the field in her heels and purple polyester dress, yelling, "Nicholas Hall, pay attention." The thing about daydreaming in class is you forget what was happening just before 90,000 fans started cheering you to victory, so everything blurs when your best friend whispers from behind, "I think she's talking to you, bro." And your teacher slams you with a question that makes absolutely no sense. The expression "to nip something in the bud" is an example of what, Nicholas? To nip it in the butt is an example of how to get slapped by a girl. I wanted to write a book about a boy who loves soccer and likes a girl named April. At Miss Quattlebaum's School of Ballroom Dance and Etiquette, the boys must address the girls as "Milady." "Milady, may I take your coat? Milady, may I please have this dance? Milady, sorry, my hands are clammy." After you learn how to properly shake hands, Quattlebaum chooses dance partners. When she gets to you, there are two girls left, April and a girl with chronic halitosis. Guess which one you get? I want to write a book about a boy who loves soccer, likes a girl named April, and unfortunately is getting bullied. That was interesting. I wanted to write a book about a boy who is getting bullied. Dean and Don Eggleston are pit bull mean 8th grade tyrants with beards. They used to play with you and Kobe till they got kicked out of the league for literally tackling opponents and then, get this, biting them. I want to write a book about a boy who loves soccer, likes a girl named April, is getting bullied, and unfortunately hates books. Why couldn't your dad be a musician like Jimmy Leon's dad? Or better yet, own an oil company like Kobe's? Better yet, why couldn't he be a cool detective driving a sleek silver convertible sports car like Will Smith in Bad Boys? Instead, your dad's a linguistics professor with chronic verbomania, as evidenced by the fact that he actually wrote a dictionary called Weird and Wonderful Words with, get this, footnotes. Verbomania, noun, a crazed obsession for words. Every freaking day I have to read his dictionary, which has freaking footnotes. It's absurd to me, kind of like ordering a glass of chocolate milk and then asking for a side of chocolate syrup. Seriously, who does that? In the elementary school spelling bee, when you intentionally misspelled heifer, he almost had a cow. You're the only kid on your block in the entire freaking world who lives in a prison of words. He calls it the pursuit of excellence. You call it Shawshank. And even though your mother forbids you to say it, the truth is you hate words. So I want to write a book about a boy who loves soccer, likes a girl named April, is getting bullied, and he hates words and books until he meets the coolest librarian ever. And this librarian is so cool that he actually raps. The Mac drinks tea in a dragonfly mug. On the library floor is a dragonfly rug. The door is covered and dragonfly pics, 'cause skip to the Mac is dragonfly sick. Sometimes I wear a dragonfly hat, got dragonfly this and dragonfly this and dragonfly this and dragonfly that. Around my room are dragonfly clocks, but please don't touch my dragonfly socks. Socks. Box, y'all, box. Around my room are dragonfly clocks, but please don't touch my dragonfly box. Skip McDonald, the Mac is a corny, joke-cracking, 7-foot bowling fanatic who wears funny t-shirts like, I like big books and I cannot lie. He used to be a rap producer, but now he only listens to elevator music because he says that hip hop is dead. When I ask him who killed it, he says ringtones and objectification. Reason number one why he left the music business at age 29 to become, get this, a librarian. Reason number two is the brain surgery he had 2 years ago that left him with a scar that runs across his head from his left ear to his right. But he's the coolest adult in our school, and to prove it, he's got a Grammy Award for Best Rap Song sitting right at checkout in plain view for everyone to see and touch. Plus, he's won Teacher of the Year more times than Brazil has won the World Cup. So when he gets all geeked about his book club or breaks into some random rap in the middle of a conversation, most people just smile or clap because we're all just happy the Mac is still alive. I wanted to write a book about a boy who loves soccer, likes a girl named April, is getting bullied, hates words because he's being forced to read books that he doesn't want to read, including his father's dictionary, and his life completely changes when the things he hates become the things he loves because there are adults in his life who remind him and who remind each other that sometimes it's not about teaching the curriculum, it's about teaching the child. Because he has an adult in his life, a librarian who understands that all children need to have an opportunity to open a world of possible. Because there is an adult in his life who understands that books are amusement parks and sometimes kids need to be able to choose the rides. Because he understands that we got to know our children so that we can allow them to imagine a better world. We have to expose them to all kinds of literature, to Meg Medina, to Pam Munoz-Ryan, to Jason Reynolds, to Carl Hyacin. I mean, we got to expose all kids to all literature. I'll be on my soapbox, y'all. Y'all give it up for Randy Preston. My favorite part of these presentations is to be able to answer questions, especially from some of the young people. So we have a few minutes left. Let's do a quick Q&A. Can the lights come up a little bit?
There are microphones at the front, so please ask your questions for the microphone.
Has anybody read Booked and Crossover? Sweet, sweet. Any sixth graders who've read Booked and Crossover? You have? Excellent. Any sixth graders from Virginia who've read Booked and Crossover? Back here? You have? All right, stand up. All right, question.
I'm not a young person. I'm a 52-year-old 8th grade English teacher from Loudoun County. And your books are one of the most popular books in our classroom. I'm a co-teacher, so I teach special education. And you definitely are getting the reluctant readers. I want to thank you because some of our students last year tweeted you about the book as they were reading, and especially one child that hadn't read a book all year. And when you liked his tweet, he finished it. And so I also follow you, so I know you retweet and tweet, and so we appreciate that. I also want to thank you for the work that you're doing with Cornelius Minor, with the Columbia Teachers College, and we are, we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to help that silence.
Thank you. I love those kind of questions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi. I'm a school librarian, actually, at a small boarding school in Virginia, a little hamlet called Mouth of Wilson, Oak Hill Academy, and we are known for our basketball. And we have quite a few students who do come because of basketball. And because of crossover, I've gotten some more reluctant readers at the who haven't read a book in such a long time and are 16 years old and picking it up for the first time. So thank you for crossover and now for book, because we also have some kids who like soccer as well. So I just want to thank you very much for all the work you've been doing.
Thank you. If I can just say something, in book, the character Nick Hall, the teachers and so forth probably think he's a reluctant reader. And just like the teachers thought I was a reluctant reader, but by age 11, I had read, my father made me read Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire. And so I was not only well-read, but I was like, I was reading college text. And so it wasn't that I was reluctant, which is why I'm a little weary of that word. It's that I wasn't interested in the books that was being given. And so I think we got to be careful about how we label children, because these labels will carry through them in life. Y'all didn't know y'all were getting a lecture. Yes?
Do you find it easier to write in verse than to not write in verse?
Oh, yes, I do find it easier to write in verse. It's certainly a challenge to be able to say so much in so few words, but I've been writing poetry for so long and doing it professionally for 23 years. And I started right here in Arlington, Virginia, when I was trying to court my wife, who's here. And the way I courted her was I wrote her a poem a day for a year. Yep. And I can embarrass her with a poem right now. Nah, it's too many kids here. Go ahead.
Are you working on any new books right now?
Am I working on any new books right now? Ooh, I love that question. Yeah, I don't even really need to say anything about that. It's just wow. This is a book called Out of Wonder, Poems Celebrating Poets, and it's a collection of poems and illustrations by Equa Holmes, who just won a Caldecott honor, and that comes out in March. This is a book of poems that I wrote with some friends to photographs of endangered animals from around the world, and it was a partnership with National Geographic, and it comes out on Valentine's Day. If you've read the crossover, you will know that there are a lot of basketball rules. If you miss enough of life's free throws, you will pay in the end. The father gives the son these basketball rules for life. Well, I decided to do a whole book of basketball rules, and it comes out on Valentine's Day as well, and it's called The Playbook. So thank you for that question. Yes?
We're from Julius West Middle School. And we have two questions. One, are there any authors who inspired you? And two, do you have any advice for younger writers?
For young writers. So yes, Nikki Giovanni was my professor in college, and she inspired me and continues to inspire me. I read a lot of Langston Hughes. And do I have any advice for students who want to write and who are writing, and for adults who want to live and who are living? I do. Say yes. I believe you have to say yes to life. You have to say yes to what's possible. And the way you learn what's possible is by reading and exposing yourself to all the wonderful things that are possible for you in this world. So say yes. No, say it. Say yes.
Thanks so much for being here today. Oh, microphone's shorter than I am. I'm a librarian at T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria.
Yeah.
Titans.
Yeah.
I loved Crossover and I loved Booked, and I'm going to tell you something very sad, but I think it's an important conversation we have to have. I can't move your book. I cannot get kids to read your books, and I think I'm having this conversation with fellow educators, this idea of cadence and how do we teach students? They don't hear their own voice when they're reading. We have gotten to such a scripted reading program in this country that we don't teach kids how to hear themselves and how to hear inflections and how to hear the things they need to be hearing in a book. What are we doing? How do we move forward and teach kids to hear their voice so that they can enjoy books like yours?
So I have never heard that comment before.
It is the most...
Wow, that is a stuff. Now, so tell me this, do you teach high school?
Yes, it's high school. I'm in grades 10 through 12, and I will say we have a large international academy. About 1,000 of our 3,000 students at my campus are all coming from different countries, 144 different languages represented.
Right.
That may have something to do with it, but those aren't just the kids that I can't get the book in your hand.
Sure.
And it's not that I don't think the content's interesting. I really think they look at your book and they can't decode it.
So here's the thing. I don't even know how to answer that. But I will say this. What came to mind is that in my travels to 177 schools last year, the comments that I heard from teachers and librarians were this. Because it's poetry, because it has so much white space, these kids, the ones who are avid, the ones who are not engaged, are reading your book and are doing it in one day. I just met a kid who came up here and said, I read your book in one day. And so I think, this is me guessing, I write for ages 9 to 12. These are middle grade novels. And so certainly I think that adults and some older people, some older students have enjoyed the books and been able to connect with them, and been able to resonate with them. But I think maybe the appeal of it's not there for high school. Or maybe it needs to be book talked in a different way.
Your accompanying music today helps.
Josh Bell is my name, but Filthy McNasty is my claim to fame. Folks call me that because my game's a claim. So downright dirty, it'll put you to. My hair is long, my height's tall. See, I'm the next Steph Curry, LeBron, and Chris. Remember the greats, my dad likes to gloat. I ball with Magic and the GOAT. But tricks are for kids, I reply. Don't need your pets, my game's so fly. Mom says, your dad's old school, like an old Chevette. You're fresh and new, like a red Corvette. Your game's so sweet, it's crepe Suzette. Each time you play, it's all. If anyone else called me fresh and sweet, I'd burn mad as a flame. But I know she's only talking about my game. See, when I play ball, I'm on fire. When I shoot, I inspire. The hoop's for sale, and I'm the... I think maybe sometimes we got to book talk these books in different ways for different ages. And just like all of you all participated, I think maybe the high school students might. But that'd be the only answer I have. But thank you for that question. Wow, I don't think about that.
I tweeted at you today, hit me back and let's get you to TC. Read aloud. Thanks, Kwame.
Hello?
Hello.
All right, so I'm going to, right off the bat, I have never heard of these books before in my life, and as soon as I heard the description, I'm like, oh my God, I need to buy these books and put them in my school's library because there are some kids at my school who need to read it, who need to get this, because I'm a very avid writer, reader, artist, musician, poet, and I go to school, and there are 5-year-olds, there are 7-year-olds who are stuck, who I see on their iPhones texting away, say they haven't read a book in their lives. There are 7-year-olds in my school, it's a private school, but who can't read. And I've been reading since I was 3.5 years old. I read the Harry Potter series when I was like 9. I love books, I like reading them, writing them, and the thought that there are people out there who are unable to connect to the stories on the page, it's horrifying. And
you're right, and I applaud you. What grade are you in?
8th.
You're in 8th grade. Wow, that's really impressive. I applaud you, and I think we got to do more of this. That's why the book festival is so important, because it takes the words off the page. It puts the words on the stage. It gives parents and children an opportunity to connect around literature. So thank you so much for that.
wondering, what would you say to future authors, like to inspire them more?
So we'll end with that. It's a very good point. What would I say to future authors to inspire them? I would say it took me 5 years to get my novel, The Crossover, published. It took me 22 rejections. It took a lot of persistence and a lot of will. And I think I would encourage you to believe in yourself, to believe in your capacity to create a story or a poem or something that's meaningful and significant to other people. I would also encourage the adults in the room to remember that adults don't sort of create their prejudices and their ideas about the world out of a vacuum. The mind of an adult begins in the imagination of a child. And we have to begin to create literature and expose children to literature that's going to make them into the kinds of people that we're going to be proud of and that are going to represent and really create the kind of place we really need and want in America. So thank you all so much and have a great day.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.